Live from the Cactus Creek at Ibri, he is the king of prime time, Ghana's undisputed entertainment laureate, and still the youngest old man in Ghana. Put your hands together, show some love for the indefatigable KSM.
The KSM Show.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Live and direct from Cactus Creek, the nation's #1 conference destination. If you want to have a conference, this is the place to be. But that's not why I'm here today, you know. We're here because we're having the KSM Show. Now, you know me, you know, I love to talk to the youth, especially those who are very, very active in terms of consciousness. So there's things going on wrong in Ghana. We adults just sit down and say, anything. All the adults will keep quiet and fold their arms. But the youth will get up and say, no, this nonsense must stop. There are certain things going on that we can't encourage. And I love that. Why am I talking plenty? My guest today is a very, very dynamic young lady. And she was very, very active in the Galamsey fight against Galamsey. And there was such a backlash against her. She was actually arrested. She's been through the court system and everything. And today, I'm going to sit down and have a one-on-one with her. Folks, put your hands together. Show some love for Felicity Nelson. Yeah. All right. Please, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And have a seat.
Thank you.
All right. Show some love, Felicity Nelson in your house. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, the youth, I want you all engaged in this country. Chronomodia. When we come back, the show will continue. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
Is it the luxurious rooms? Or the serene green surroundings? Is it the tempting swimming pool? Or the classy conference room? Or the cute gift shop? Maybe it's our chef's array of cooking delights. Whichever way, it's all about Cactus Creek. A most respected hotel. 055 039 5007.
KSM Show.
If you want the Otunfo of all shows, the Kofi Annan of all shows, it is the KSM Show. It is the Togbi of all shows. Once you get to KSM, entertainment, information, and education, you have it.
We're back live and direct from the Cactus Creek. And my guest today, I told you, you've met my guest, Felicity Nelson. She's been an activist for a long time. But immediately, why I have her here, and we'll talk about all her activity, is Galamsey, folks. Galamsey is the destruction of our land, of our resources, of our food. It's the destruction of the country. And everybody is mute. And I'm so glad that some youth got up and said this is not going to be tolerated, and they hit the streets. Felicity, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First of all, let me congratulate you for having the courage to stand up and say this nonsense must stop.
Thank you.
What spurred you on? We will talk a little bit.
Honestly, when Ghana Water Company issued that statement talking about how they're going to be struggling to be able to supply us with water.
When the Ghana Water Company...
Yes, when they issued that statement, and due to the fact that the chemicals that they're using in Galamsey are like the mercury, they're struggling to basically strip it out of when they're cleaning the water, they're not able to do that. So because of that, it's going to affect their ability to supply us with water. And for me, not just for me, for all of us, water is life. And that was like, for me, it was like, no, this is like a call to action. I can't just sit back and do nothing. Now it's become critical. Galamsey it's always been critical, but once I saw that statement, I'm like, for Ghana Water Companies to actually issue a statement publicly, because this is something that naturally you would think that, the government will try to stop them from, bringing this news out so the public doesn't know. But once they've managed to put it out, that shows the severity of it, and I just couldn't sit back and just do nothing.
Folks, it is very, very true. We were all here when the Ghana Water Company issued a notice that in the near future, our water supplies are going to be affected by this destructive Galamsey thing. And like you said, you wouldn't even think that the Ghana Water Company would issue that thing out.
Publicly.
And they did. And to Ghana for the Ghana. And then we just worked on with life.
Yeah.
Folks, you can't do that. So you read that and you said, this is getting serious.
Yeah, and I said, no, like, we have to do something. We can't be silent. We can't sit back. I just couldn't sit back. I just couldn't.
Even before we get to why you decided to do something, which we'll talk about, and there's something that you did. How does that make you feel that such an important warning has come out from the Ghana Water Company, and it's like still business as usual? Nobody seemed to really care.
It is disheartening to just see that, first of all, it's the government's responsibility, right? So that's the first thing. So once they issued that statement, we saw nothing. The president was silent. The current flag bearer, who's the vice president, was completely silent. We didn't actually hear them speak to this urgent notice from the Ghana Water Company. So they didn't care. They just simply didn't care. But then I'm also quite disheartened by Ghanaians because we as a people, we don't have to always wait on the government to move. Because this is something that's going to affect our lives, our children, our great-grandchildren. Like, it's going to affect us now. It's not that the water bodies are going to be destroyed in 20 years. They're being destroyed now. The mercury, the cyanide is in our water today. It's not in our water in 10 years and 15 years. Like, it's the fact that every time things happen and we all just kind of sit back and wait for some kind of messiah or some kind of messiahs, or some other people over there should be the ones who get up and go and speak about it. Some other people over there, they'll even sometimes they'll say to you, hey, this is happening and this person is not talking about it. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah. Why don't you use your voice? Because every single voice is important. Everybody is important. Like, if 1 million of us had gotten onto the street to protest against Galamsey, there's no way, for example, they couldn't arrest us. They would have known that they need to do urgent action. But it's because people just sit back and we don't care. You need to care. Your life is at risk. It's in our food. It's in our water. It's not just it's in the food we eat. It's in the fish. We eat fish that's fished in Ghana. The food that we eat is farmed in Ghana. The cassava, the maize, the whatever, all of these areas where this food is coming from. That same water is what they're using to actually water these plants, water this food. So it's in our bodies. So we need to move. But every time just sitting back and just thinking, well, somebody else is going to deal with it, or just kind of putting our heads into the ground and just being like, we kind of in a way also wait for God to kind of come in and like intervene. Yeah. But we need to take action. Yeah. We can't be silent anymore. You need to do something for your country.
Felicity, you have no idea what this does to my heart, because it's something about this country, the lack of urgency. Yeah. And like I said, we are waiting for, Nyame Baye. Yeah. Yeah. So the illegal Galamsey is poisoning our food, poisoning our water, but we are very confident. So let's say so let me fast forward small. So some of you out there, the youth, and I'll be talking to, I'll find time to talk to Ralph, and all those people who said, no, this nonsense must stop. Yeah. You get up to go and protest it, and you are met with the wrath of the police.
Of the state.
Sorry?
Of the state.
Of the state?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Because the police are not acting alone.
Tell me, let's talk to Talk to me about what you went through.
So, you know, the Saturday for me was not, we managed to protest, we went home. The Sunday morning, I got to the protest quite late. So on Sunday, I kind of saw on the news when a couple of people had been arrested at the protest site. So I immediately left home and said, oh, I need to go and find out what's happening. I got there, by then it was probably about 11 of us. This is around 12, 1 o'clock. So there's about 11 of us on the side of the road. So people are not coming. So I was actually even doing, there was about 200 policemen and about 11 of us. So by then I'm like, okay.
There were 11 protesters?
Yes, protesters, yeah.
And 200 policemen
yes.
waiting to put you in order.
Yeah. And so I was actually doing a Facebook live at the time, actually telling people, oh, it's safe. Even though people had been arrested in the morning, it's really safe. There's nothing happening. The police are here. Look at us. You know, you need to come out. We need to stand up and be counted. And I just saw the police approaching us, about 30, 40 policemen approaching us. And I thought, okay, well, I'm on the side of the road. I'm just doing a Facebook live, so I'm not doing anything wrong. So I didn't run. None of us ran because we were not doing anything wrong. And they just approached me, started, hey, phone. They wrestled my phone out of my hands, and then they started shoving all of us. So instantly we're like confused. They were hitting some people. So they were aggressively pushing me, and then a female police officer actually intervened and told them that she would walk with me, so they don't need to push me. They kind of round us all up into like this section. So by then there's about 19 of us. They round us up, they give us seats. I said, I'm not going to sit down. What's happening? They start taking everybody's phones. They don't give us any information, and they just bundle us all into the police van. So at this point, we're in the police van. I'm so confused as to what's happening. They've not been told, oh, you're under arrest. This is why you're being arrested. Nothing like that. Nothing at all. No communication. Our phones have been taken. So as at that time, I saw it as kidnapping. Like I'm actually being kidnapped by people who are dressed as police.
So your live broadcast ended abruptly, I guess?
Yes. So because I managed to end it. I managed to end it in the wrestling. I managed to end just because I wanted it to be there for posterity's sake, just in case. Because one day they'll come back and say, this is what you were doing. And at least I have something proving what I was actually doing whilst I was being kidnapped. And we get to the central police, regional police headquarters, and they start asking us questions. And I said, am I under arrest?
What were they asking?
Like, what's your name? And I said, am I under arrest? And the policeman looks at me and says, well, if at this point you don't know you're under arrest, I feel sorry for you. And I'm just thinking, that's not what's supposed to happen. Like, legally, you're supposed to tell me I'm under arrest, what I'm under arrest for. So I asked, I want to speak to my lawyer before I'm going to answer any of their questions. Instantly said, hey, take her to Railways Police Station. Because obviously I dared to open my mouth and ask for a lawyer.
So first you were at the central police station.
Yes.
And because you questioned them, they said they should take you to the railways.
Yeah. So I get there, they start wanting to process me to put me into the cell. They process me, put me in the cell. I look around the cell. The cell is like a slave dungeon. I walk in, there's no lights. So this is about 8 p.m. at night by now. There's no light in the cell. There's no fan, there's no ventilation. They've put holes in the ceiling, like around the ceiling for ventilation. That's where it's on the wall, at the top of the wall. Like, you know, when you walk into this, that's what I said, it's like a slave dungeon. You know, when you go into Cape Coast Castle or whatever, and you see like they've made like a little hole for air. Yes. And that's exactly what this room, this police cell.
A dungeon.
Yes. I was petrified. I didn't even want to go in there because this is a dark room with no light, nothing, and the smell in there. So at some point they came back out and they told me that they want me to write a statement. I said, well, I'm not writing a statement because I don't have a lawyer present. They said, well, you need to write a statement. Write that you don't want to write a statement. I said, no, I'm not write that you don't want to write. I'm not writing.
If you don't want to write, at least write that I don't want to write a statement.
No, and I'm like, no, I have a right to seek legal counsel. I'm not putting anything on paper. The CID leaves, comes back again, tells them to bring me out of the cell, put cuffs on me so that he can take a picture of me. In cuffs.
So they brought you out of the cell and put you in cuffs?
Yeah, just to take
a picture.
So in the picture, so then I realized then that picture was probably going to be used for some kind of propaganda. So I decided I was going to smile in the picture to defy whatever they wanted to use that picture. So I smiled and he got angry. No, you can't smile. I said, you can't tell me what I should do with my face while taking this picture. First of all, I don't even want to take this picture. If I'm going to take it, I'm going to smile in it because this is my way of just showing you that you're not going to break me. This arrest is not going to break me. You putting me in this cell is not going to break me.
Show some love, please. Show some love for this. Wow. Go ahead, please.
They put me back, and I went back in the cell. So I was at that station for 2 nights. So when you're...
In that dark dungeon?
Yes, for 2 nights.
Were the other people thrown in there?
So there was only on the first night there was 1 lady in there, and on the second night they brought a second person. So there was 2. Well, none of the protesters were in the.
Oh, these were not the protesters.
No, just like this is in the female cell. In the male cell, there's probably like a good 40 people. So that was like definitely overcrowded. But in the female cell, there was just like three of us at some point. And then when you're arrested after 48 hours, they're supposed to produce you before a court. So on the second day, they rounded all of us up. Everyone that had been arrested was meant to be taken to court. We get to the police headquarters, we go through all the paperwork, they can't find my name. So everybody goes to court. My family are waiting for me at court.
You're not there.
I'm not there. And I'm like, can I call them to let them know that I'm not coming and what's happening? Nobody's allowing me to make a phone call. Because remember, my phone was taken 2 days before. And then at some point, I'm like, what's happening? They just say, hey, where's the female cell? Take her to Bachona. I get to Bachona. So
you went to the railway station, for the central police station, to the railway, then they should take you to Bachona.
Yeah, then police headquarters, where they rounded us all up to take us to court, found out my name was not in the list of people being taken to court, which again is a breach of my human rights. And then they took me to another station. I get to the station, they refused to let me call anybody to let them know I'm asthmatic. So if I'm anywhere, I need like my inhaler as a basic. And people need to know where I am. My lawyer needs to know where I am. My family needs to know where I am. I'm a mother, so my son needs to know where I am. And they refused to let me make a phone call. They just put me in the cell and in Bachona, in the loo, the washroom. So the cell is here, the washroom is here, and there's no door. And that washroom was blocked, as in there's human whatever in there.
Feces.
And, yes. And I heard that it's been there for 4 or 5 months.
Oh my goodness.
It was this.
And they put you in there next to the feces?
Yes.
And they have other people in there as well?
And when I got there, I was alone and they brought another lady, just another person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the female cells generally, there's not a lot of people. It's the male cells which are severely overcrowded. So yes, I was in the room. So basically you can't use the loo because the loo is blocked up. And during the day, they'll take you out of the cell and let you use the commune, kind of like where the police officers would use. But at night, you're not allowed out of the cell. So if you need to use the washroom at night, you can't, because of course this one's blocked up and you're not allowed out of your cell. And I can't even describe the smell, but you can imagine the smell. It was the most disgusting.
And you spent the night
Yes.
in there?
So the next day, they finally had my paperwork in check and they took me to court. And I got to court and then I was remanded for 14 days. And that's when I was sent to Cantonments police station. Wow. So after going to those 2 police stations, by the time I got to Cantonments, I actually felt like,
this is a Hilton hotel.
Yes, because I had been through the trenches.
Wow.
So Cantonments actually did look. So when I got there, by the time I got there, it didn't feel because I'd been through hell already. And when I get to Cantonments, again, can I make a phone call, let my family know I'm here? No. I need my inhaler, ignored me. I go to the cell during the night, I actually had an asthma attack.
So you had an asthma attack?
Yes.
And?
Then they had to take me to the police hospital. So, Cantonments is quite close. Yeah. We get to the police hospital, the doctor tells them I need an inhaler, 140 cedis, they say they don't have money to pay for it. So I'm having an asthma attack. The police are arguing with the doctors about the fact that they don't have money and it should be free, because once you're in police custody, the state is supposed to take care of all your medical bills. And they're arguing and I'm having an asthma attack and all this time. I could have died. If I was, by now I could be dead. And so eventually the doctor said, okay, there's another option for something that's 75 cedis. And then they paid that and they gave me that option. And then I was brought back, not knowing, whilst I was in the cell at Cantonments, my sister had been to the police station 3 times. And on the last one, she's like, please just take her inhaler, because she's asthmatic.
Oh, so she brought an inhaler.
And they told her I wasn't there. The 3 times she came there, they told her I wasn't at the station.
They didn't know? Or
They knew it's a thing. Like when you get there, they lie. It's not just, this is not something that I was the only person that experienced. It's something that Ghana police does. And there's no repercussions for it. So I could have died. And she said to them, just take an inhaler. But again, to kind of work through the lie, they couldn't take the inhaler. So they said, oh, I'm not there. So not even caring about the fact that someone's life could be at risk. Everything is part of this game to like intimidate you, to isolate you. Because of course, if they're not letting your family know where you are, nobody knows where you are. It's all things to kind of mess with you mentally.
And folks, just a quick second. All of this is simply because they say Galamsey is wrong. It is destroying our lives. The Ghana Water Company has actually issued a statement that we are in danger as a nation. And in a few years' time, the cyanide and all the poisoning in the waters is something they can no longer treat, and that will affect us as a nation, the people. And this is what somebody goes through because she got up to say, this nonsense must stop.
No, I want to say it's not one day. Right now, as it stands, even their systems currently don't have the capacity to take out all of those heavy metals and those chemicals out of the water as we're speaking now. The systems don't have the capacity to do that. They don't have the capacity to do that because it wasn't set up to take out mercury, to take out cyanide. That's not what their purification process never had that in place. So as it stands now, they don't have the capacity to do that now. But they're just saying they won't even be able to supply water at all later. But now they don't have the capacity to take all of the
clean it up. Yeah. And so you were in jail and you went through all that torture, inhumanity. Because you just had the voice said, Charlie, this
is wrong.
Must stop.
Yeah, Galamsey must stop.
I remember, I think I put it out on, I don't know whether it was WhatsApp, something I put it out that this is the country we are in. Those who are doing the illegal mining, the Galamseyers, have the right to do it. Those who are protesting have been arrested. And I got responses from people. These people are anarchists. That's somebody actually said that. Why am I supporting anarchists? But these people are, I'm like, am I in the same, are we in the same country?
Yeah. And like anarchists, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And you know, funny enough, some people actually remanded. So I was remanded to police custody, but there was actually 11 people who were remanded to prison custody. 1 woman and 10 men.
They were put in prison?
Yes, in prison in Sawum.
Oh.
Yes. And one of the lady who was in Sawum met Aisha Huang.
Aisha Huang.
And Aisha said, I was arrested for doing Galamsey, and you have been arrested for saying people should stop doing Galamsey. Your government is confused.
This looks funny, but this is serious. Aisha Huang, who was arrested and put in jail for Galamsey, was saying, hey, but they arrested me for Galamsey. You are fighting against Galamsey. You are here too. They say your government must be confused.
Yeah, of course it is.
Folks, I want you to listen to what people go through because they want something good for the nation. They were actually sent in Sawum?
Yes, people were sent in Sawum. And so the lady who was sent in Sawum, for example, Sharifa, the police actually hit her when she was being arrested in her leg. They kicked her in the leg. So when she got to the prison, her leg started swelling up. And when you first get there, they isolate you for about 3 days before they actually release you into the general population. And her leg was swelling up. She got no medical attention. And she was actually worried she was going to get like an infection. Eventually started seeping with water. And while she was there, she can't drink pure water, sachet water. And they wouldn't allow her to buy. So for about 3 days, she had no water to drink.
Really?
It took one prison officer intervened and said, like, girlie, if we don't do something, she might die on our hands before they took money from her to go and buy her bottled water. And even the food, when she tried to eat the food, she started developing hives because you can imagine the quality of food that they're offering. So, you know, when we're talking about the hellish experience, I don't like to center myself because I know that for a lot of people, especially the people who went into prison custody, they went through real hell. And these are just people who and that Sharifa, for example, she's a mother, she has 3 kids.
3 kids.
She's a caterer, you know, one of the church mates who was arrested, Emmanuel, he lost his job. So now when he came back, his what they call them, the driver had gotten another church mate. So this is people have lost their jobs, and he wasn't even part of the protest. Like, he was a passerby. So look, people, we can't, this should not be okay. Like, this should not be happening. We shouldn't be okay with this. And don't think, say, oh, media and family, like, that's what I really want people to understand, because people went out to protest, some who even didn't, still got the same fate, and some even worse than others. So we all, like, when I just think about what she went through, in the men's prisons, it's overcrowded. So they sleep, or more friends say, head to toe. Some of them had to sleep standing up because there's no space.
Wow.
We must all do better.
Folks, I'm glad you're all listening to this. It sounds like a horror story. But if I can just take a minute to talk to the youth of Ghana, this is the kind of example that I want all of you to exercise, because, Charlie, some of us, we are gone. All those in power, some of them may not even be around in the next few years. Ghana is yours. Protect it as if it's the only country you have. You know why? It is the only country you have. Now, it's quite interesting. Other international media and stuff are looking for you to talk to. Give me the lowdown on that as well.
Oh no, so I've done interviews with like Radio France, France 24. I've done one with Bloomberg. I've got one with Guardian UK coming up. And of course, because the international media is interested, because this is destruction of our forest reserves are being destroyed, our water bodies are being destroyed. This is a serious issue. And the people protesting against it were arrested, some in prison custody, some were remanded in police custody. This is wrong. This is not okay. And also, you have to remember that for the last 8 years, this MPP government has spent a lot of time doing a lot of international PR. You know, when you think of the year of return, you think of how, and if you look, even Nanado, how many times has he engaged Ghanaian media? Well, every time he's in a foreign country, he's engaging foreign media. So he cares more about what the international people care. So they've been very careful and particular about creating an image. So people have been interested in Ghana for a while. So now it's suddenly the veil has been lifted, because all that PR, you know, all that kind of the marketing and everything, the lies, the deception, suddenly people are seeing Nanado for who he really is. Because people talk about the fact that, oh, he's a human rights lawyer. And I ask, and I'm asking anybody watching this show, which landmark human rights cases do we know that Nanado championed? So even that tag, right, is false, it's fictitious. And these are the kind of things. And under him, when we were arrested, when they said, oh, may the law take run its course and whatever, when he went to sit on the French media house, that interview.
I'm not responsible for jailing people in Ghana. People misconduct themselves and they're brought before court. It's for the court to deal with them. And their behavior is what lands them in problem with the police and with the courts. It's not the protest.
And for me, right now, as it stands, 53 people were arrested. So we're 53 people altogether. And they've dropped the charges of 21 people. Some of these 21 people, for example, Benjamin Dako, who is one of the organizers of the protest, one of my colleagues, he did not attend the protest. But when Oliver was in the hospital, he went to visit him and they arrested him at the hospital.
For visiting Oliver?
Yes. And he was at cantonment with me and he was remanded for 14 days. Somebody who did not even attend the protest.
Arrested and remanded in custody
for
visiting
Oliver. But the charges, he was also charged for unlawful assembly, destroying party. And just when 2 days ago, they decided they've dropped the charges. After you've remanded somebody for 14 days, you've wasted the time, had them in court, 4 or 5 court appearances, and suddenly say, oh, we're dropping the charges. Because of course you don't have a case against him. But why is this okay? Why is it okay for you to arrest somebody simply because they know him? So it was targeted. It wasn't like, he wasn't just picked up by accident. He's someone that is very known to the police, because he is the one he does most of our engagement with the police when it comes to the meetings before we do protests. So they know him. So to pick somebody up just to show them where the power lies. That's all it was, showing him where the power lies. And it's like, and where everyone is silent. And where is the outrage? Because of this arrest, he's actually lost his job. He lost his scholarship.
Wow.
I lost my job because of this arrest.
So you lost your job?
Yes.
They decided to fire you?
Yes, because it was an international job, and I was not able to be contacted because before the police had my phone for 10 days before they even released it to my family.
So they were trying to reach you, but they
couldn't reach me. So yeah, and
so this woman is not serious.
Yes.
Wow. Folks, let's take a commercial break, and when we come back, the discussion will continue. But it is really, really, really disheartening what we are going through in this country. Let's take a short commercial break. When we come back, the show will continue. We'll be right back.
The KSM Show.
Is it the luxurious rooms? Or the serene green surroundings? Is it the tempting swimming pool? Or the classy conference room? Or the cute gift shop? Maybe it's our chef's array of cooking delights. Whichever way, it's all about Cactus Creek. A most respected hotel. 055 039 5007.
The KSM Show.
Hey guys, my name is Francis Xavier Sosu, MP for Medina. I enjoy the KSM show. I believe it's one of the most stimulating and very exciting shows on TV today. KSM show is the best.
Hello folks, we're back. Listening to the horror story of what Felicity went through, and to all of Ghana and to the youth of Ghana, this is what you have waiting for you when you decide to say, me a patriot. I'm going to build my nation. And it's funny, when I did my other show, I said some people were telling me KSM is Ghana worth dying for. When you hear this horror story, it's easy to come to that conclusion. But I'm telling you, whatever we have in us to die for this country, we will. And the youth out there, don't let this disturb you. Felicity, you went through horror.
Yeah.
Quick question now. I want to ask you about something about, but when you were at the railways and they had the choke, Bachona,
Yeah.
that's where they had the choke
Yeah.
feces that
Yeah.
you have to. Did you sleep? What did you do? Did you stay up all night? How
So
did
yeah,
you handle that?
I didn't really sleep. So when there was another lady in there, so we kind of just spent the night just talking. But funny enough, I was actually trying to cheer her up because she had her own stuff going on, and I was actually trying to
Lift her up?
yeah. And then I was also talking to the male inmates because I'd met a man in there who had been in there for 5 years. So I was just trying to figure out what had happened.
In the cells?
I was shocked. I couldn't believe that someone could be kept in a cell for 5 years. 5 years. So all of this is like, I felt like I needed to be there. I needed to see like the state of our police cells. I needed to see the state of our criminal injustice system. I'm not going to call it. Yeah, I'm not going to call it a justice system because there's absolutely no justice. And just listening to the stories of the different. So I needed to be there. So that's for me. I was like, okay, what do I need to learn? What is the lesson here? Like, what am I going to take away from this experience?
What did you find the strength standing by a pile of feces?
Yeah.
That's the best way I can use for it. And stink and stench. Where did you find the courage to even try to uplift somebody?
That's just my nature. That's just my nature. And if I'm in a situation, I'm always like, okay, how do we make the best of this? That's my nature generally. And I also think that, you know, once I'm there, and I'm an activist naturally, so I can't help it. So even though I'm sitting next to the I'm still like, okay, how do I help other people with their right? So it's just like, okay, how do I make the most of it? It's like, what do I learn from this? It's like every experience should be a learning experience. And then because it's like, I could not believe, I kept saying to myself, I can't believe they bring people here. Like, how do they bring human beings here? And this thing has been there for 4 months.
Wow.
And there's a commander here. There's a station officer. We have Dampare here in this country. And there's police cells where there can be a toilet. How much will it cost to just fix that? How much will it cost? The things we spend money on this in this country. So it was like, if anything, it made me more of an activist. But it also made me so disheartened, realizing like, oh my God, like when you think you're trying to focus on one area, there's a million other things. There's so many things, and that's why we need more hands. That's why we need more people to get involved, because like system now and people shouldn't ever think that, oh, I'm not going to be arrested, so I don't care. Because there were people who were walking past that day who were arrested. There was a church mate who had gotten down to pick up customers. He was arrested, and he was actually sent to prison custody. So if you think you're watching this and you're thinking there was somebody who was coming from church, walking past, and he was also arrested and kept in police custody with us. So don't ever think that, oh, because I'm not involved, I'm not going to go out and protest. It won't happen to me. Your silence will not save you. Because those people did not join the protest. Yet people were picked up in random places who were not even part of the protest. And they were still remanded with us. So don't ever think that, okay, this has happened to somebody over there in the family. Because Antoa, yes. O sister, o mami, o papa, one kasa. So we need to understand that all oppression is linked. Every sense of injustice we can be a victim of it. As people I met in the cell who have not done anything wrong, but because of money and whatever, so it can happen to anybody. We need to create a system that's strong enough that protects every single one of us, so that if any of us ends up in a cell, for example, we know that at least we're going to be treated like a human being. We're not going to be treated worse than slaves were treated.
Right, man. Because it doesn't matter what you can't take such inhuman decisions. May they punish you.
Like they told me, I asked them why couldn't I have like a pillow. They said, oh, this is meant to be a punishment.
Oh, that's what they said.
The police opened their mouth and told me
this is a punishment.
So my punishment. But I just want to say this is the fact that if 1 million of us had gotten on the street that day, there's no way that they can arrest 1 million Ghanaian young people. The reason they could arrest us is because there was too little, there was not enough of us. So that's the reason why it's important that everybody stands up to be counted. Because if we're united, they can't take us. We outnumber them. Young people in this country outnumber the police. The entire police force, I think, in the whole country is about 300,000. We have millions of Ghanaian young people. So if we all step out onto the streets, they cannot stop us. So don't ever think, okay, well, I'm not going to get involved, and then, so if I don't get involved, I won't be arrested, or no. Everything affects you. Unemployment is a problem for you. High cost of living is a problem for you. You know, the fact that, you know, it's so expensive to go to school, to go to university, the hostel fees, everything is a problem. So don't ever think, oh, wait, I'm family home. Or we try to think, okay, if I have money, I'm going to insulate myself from life's problems. It doesn't, because if you're rich, you're still going to be drinking the water that's made in Ghana. So this water sitting here could be contaminated for all I know. Any water you're drinking and you don't think I'm going to buy water. How long can you buy water for? And are you only going to eat food which comes from other countries? Are you going to stop eating fufu? Are you going to stop eating banku? So the thing is, everything affects you. So you have an interest. You have your and don't think I'm going to leave the country. Once you leave Ghana, you have family here. And suddenly, actually, everybody's problems in Ghana becomes yours. So all your family, your friends' problems become yours. So leaving the country doesn't insulate you from Ghana's problems. So it's in all our interest to ensure that Ghana is fixed. Whether you even decide to move abroad or not, that will not protect you from Ghana's problems. Because if your family member ends up in a hospital and they don't give them a bed, you're the one that's going to bear the brunt of that. You're the one that if they have kidney disease and you're the one abroad, everyone's going to be looking to you to be paying for their hospital bills. So don't ever think that I'm going to leave the country. Are you going to leave with your whole? How many people can leave Ghana with their entire family tree, all their friends, every single person they know? And you go and live elsewhere. The people who are living abroad, you know how much they're complaining. They wish they could come back and live in Ghana.
I know.
But it's because Ghana, because of the state of the country, a lot of them can't come back, and they can't afford to come back. So don't ever think you're going to be able to run away from Ghana. This is our country, and it's in our interest to make sure that it's fixed.
Show some love, man. Show some love. Show some love. And let me move on to the next thing. You see, as fiery as you are, because you love this country, as fiery as you are because you're committed to building this nation, how sad is it that when you go out to actually fight for your country and then somebody says around, oh, don't mind them, this is NDC inspired. And that's what somebody told me.
Yeah, yeah.
Senator KSM, what are you talking about? You went through that?
Oh yeah, you know, coming back out and then seeing that that was the commentary for a lot of people. First of all, when you're drinking water that's contaminated with Galamsey, with mercury or cyanide, it doesn't know an NDC body, doesn't know an MPP body. So the fact that every time we have a national issue and people want to have conversations about, oh, but what's your political affiliation? Doesn't matter. The real question is, Asemna Okano, is it true?
Thank you.
Is it valid?
Thank you.
We love to be distracted with nonsense. And so we don't like to focus on issues, always majoring in minors. So because if I'm saying that Galamsey needs to end and our water bodies are being destroyed, the main thing you need to be focusing on is what Felicity is saying. Is it true? Are our water bodies being destroyed? What are the implications of that to me, to the nation? Those are the real questions. That's why we need to be centering the conversation, not on, oh, NDC. Do you think I went out that day to go and say stop Galamsey thinking about a political party? Absolutely not. Because it's bigger than a political party.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's bigger. It will always be the thing. Ghana must be bigger to us than any political party.
Thank you.
Why do we always want to center everything around politics? Why? We don't know how to be nationalistic in our thinking, not even for a moment. When someone's saying, and the thing is, I have to ask this question. So if the people saying stop Galamsey are NDC members, is it that the people doing Galamsey are MPP members? Because that's the only way you can, that can be the accurate argument. So the argument must be that stop Galamsey for are NDC for, and the people engaged in Galamsey are people who want to continue.
That's what it means.
Yes, are MPP supporters. Because if not, why is it would it be such a bad thing? Even if the NDC was saying let's stop Galamsey, why would that be a bad thing? Why is that a bad thing? Why would that suddenly mean that the argument or the conversation doesn't need to be had? Yeah. We need to focus on the important things. Because let's not forget, in 2017, when the MPP government came into power, one of their first things was to do that halt operation where they started trying to end Galamsey. They were trying to fix they were looking at the water bodies. They engaged. So when suddenly we're talking about Galamsey, you started to talk about an NDC issue. So when they were doing it in 2017, were they NDC members?
Yeah, ask again.
What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? So it isn't that it is so idiotic. I'm going to say idiotic because I need to use that word to say that when someone talks about Galamsey, then an NDC member. And anyway, we, of course, again, we do remember that when Frimpong Boateng did the report on Galamsey, a lot of MPP bigwigs were engaged in it. So I can see where they're coming from. So like, if you say stop Galamsey, it's affecting their bottom line. It's personal to them. Because it's funding their elections, it's funding them, it's going into their personal pockets, so they have a personal interest. And that's the reason why they've treated us. How in the history of Ghana, when have you ever seen people protesting on something that's a national issue being treated this way? Never. It's never happened before. But it's because it's a personal fight. How dare you try to affect my bottom line? We are going to teach you a lesson. That's what it's about.
That's exactly what it's about.
And then you sit back as a Ghanaian person and allow them to come and sit there and tell you, oh, I'm NDC for so many tiomo. When you're eating that cassava that has cyanide in it, would that protect you? How is that going to protect you? Look at that. Every time you go on social media now, they're soliciting for funds for people with kidney problems. Yeah. With kidney disease. Yeah. Every single time. Yeah. And we've not done enough studies to see if there's a link between this Galamsey and I'm sure there probably is. There is. I'm sure there probably is. Every time. Children, young people, old people, every day. And babies are being born in these Galamsey areas with serious deformities. Massive children being born without ears, without fingers, with 8 fingers on one hand. And this is happening now. This is happening today. So when you come and tell me that, oh, this is about NDC, Jimmy Sam.
How can I argue with that, man?
It doesn't make any sense.
Just a quick, I I got some comments on some other program I was doing, and someone said, "Oh, we know you, you and your paymasters." And what did he say, poor about? I'm campaigning for the NDC. I said, "Yeah, if the issues I'm talking about, national unity, Ghana first, campaigning for justice. If this, I'm speaking for NDC. Then maybe you are telling me that NDC is the choice.
Exactly.
Think.
Exactly. And why do we have to place everything in terms of campaigning? After election, we won't live.
No, we all die.
And I want to address something quickly, because people were like, oh, why did we do it so close to the election? Last year, on the 21st of September, we had a protest, the Occupy Jolobi. So it's not that the date is the same, but suddenly because it's near an election, you're only doing it because it's an election. No, we did it last year too. There's consistency here. We chose to do it on Nkrumah's birthday because we respect and honor his legacy for what he's done for the country. So it's intentional we chose that date. It has absolutely nothing to do with the election. And you know we did. You can go and check Occupy Jolobi last year between the 21st of September to 23rd. This year, end Galamsey, 21st of September to 23rd of September. So when you come and tell us, oh, it's because the election is so close, like, it has nothing to do with the election. The election just happens to be happening. But it's not because we're having an election, so we're not going to say stop Galamsey. So election in Tiyan can't stop Galamsey. If we wanted to do a protest the day before the election, if I felt like it was necessary, we would do it the day before the election. And you can say your worst.
Show some love, man. And that, you see, we don't know that even as a people now, we think in terms of 4-year cycles.
Yeah.
Everything is within the 4 years.
Yes.
What kind of a people are we? Let me go back small, because of course I keep saying you are the youth, you are the ones that are rising, and the elders, we have done what we can. Some are still in the trenches, others say, hey, what do you think inspires you and the youth who get out there to get out? Because you would think that this negativity of will sink in their heads and let them stop. Why is it not affecting you?
The thing is, I'm not going to say it doesn't affect us, because it does. Because, there's real life implications for being an activist and, lending your voice to any cause. And, it's affecting my bottom line. Like, my job was paying me 40,000 cedis a month. So I've lost that, right? So
and you've lost that?
Yes. So it's not that it doesn't affect me. It does affect me.
And this is called dying for Ghana.
Yes. But for me, it's more like, if Ghana is worth my sacrifice, like Ghana is even worth losing my job for. Like, if that means that one baby is not going to be born with a deformity, it was worth it. Like, and I have to, and I feel like Ghana needs more people like me, not less. And if I want things to change, I need to be a part of that change. I can't just sit back and fold my arms and just think it's just going to magically happen and leave it to the politicians, for example. After we vote, we need to keep them on their toes. We need to hold them accountable.
Right. That's
we have to be active citizens. We shouldn't think of democracy in Okovoti. No, you speak truth to power. You hold them accountable. You're constantly questioning them. You're asking them to be responsible. You're making demands. That's the social contract. The day we vote for you, you do X. If you're not doing X, we will protest, we'll stand up, we'll do things. Because you can't do what you want. This country does not belong to you. Even the country, whichever political party is in power, Ghana and Yawodia. Ghana is for all of us.
Yeah.
Ghana is for me, it's for you. So for me, that's the reason why I can't be silent. I just can't. And I think, I can't see that something wrong is happening and I just can't do it. And more of us need to be that way. And need to be we need to be more selfless and less selfish.
Why do you think more of us are not like what you're saying?
Because there's real life, like I said earlier, there's real life. You're gonna lose. You could lose your job.
Yeah,
you could lose your income. There's
risk.
There's opportunities that people have lost because there's jobs you wouldn't get simply because you've written a Facebook post or you've gone out on a protest. So people a lot of time are practicing self-preservation. But we need to build a system that even if you go out and protest, even if you do lend your voice to a cause, it cannot affect you. And if the state tries to come at you, we need to create systems that come against the state, right? So the police cannot go and arrest people for 14 days and later be like, oh yeah, sorry, we know we don't have any evidence, but we arrested you anyway. Where are the repercussions? We must create real life repercussions for the police, for the state, so that if they act in that way, they know they can't. But if we're silent, we need to build those things. We're not there yet, so every single one of us has a responsibility to get involved in building those systems. And that's why Obama said, build strong institutions, not strong men.
Show some love, man. Show some love, man. Show some love, man. Now, let me...
Strong women.
Oh, and women.
Strong women.
Okay. Let's move for small. Felicity, you have a son. How old is your son?
15.
15?
Yeah.
You look 15 yourself. Well, then what do you eat? You have a 15-year-old son? My goodness.
Yeah.
Why was it only 15?
This is how you look when you resist oppressor's rule.
Yeah. For all of you who want to resist oppressor's rule,
this is how you
this
look.
is the title.
Yeah.
So, okay, you have a son,
Yeah.
15. Does that come in the equation anyway? Say, Shelley, how about my son? Should I stop because I have a son? What are the limitations that places on you?
I do
having a
it
son?
for my son. Because I want my son to grow up and know that his voice matters. I want him to know that his mom stood for something. I want him to stand for something. And I must live by example, you know. So that's, for me, I do it for him. You know, when I'm talking about Stop Galamsey, if he's eating the food, he's in this country, he eats the food, he's drinking the water, so it affects him. So I do it for him. So it's not, me stopping will not protect him. Me not speaking up against Galamsey will not protect him from drinking the water that could be contaminated, or from eating food that could be contaminated, or for living in a country where all our water bodies and our fish and whatever are all destroyed. That's not going to protect him. So my silence will not protect him. I need to teach him that. He must know that. So I do it for him.
I like that angle. Say,
Yeah.
cries are more
Yeah,
reason
yes.
why you have to stay out there to protect him.
Yes.
To live him a Ghana that
Yeah.
he can
Exactly.
proudly inherit.
Yes.
Wow. Has he ever had, what do you talk to your son about?
Everything. Everything. Because I've been an activist for a long time, so he's kind of seen the different things I've spoken about. So he's always around when I'm having conversations with other people. I have conversations with him. So he's very much aware of what the issues are. So like, even when I came out of the cell, I asked him, were you worried about me? He said, no.
Really?
He said no. Well, that's because he knows me. Right, he wasn't worried about me, and I've kind of built him to like.
Wow.
Of course, I'm sure that it can be hard for him because he was, when I had to make my first phone call, his number is the only number I have in my head. So he was the one I actually called to tell my dad that I've been arrested. So he was the one I actually broke the news to.
To your dad?
So yes, I broke the news to my son because I've only got my son's number in my head. So because I didn't have my phone, so I had to call a number to let them know I've been arrested, and I had to call him. So I'm sure that was like shocking to him, but I had to. So he had to be, and he's coping. He's coping. He has to cope. And I think we need to move beyond even our personal families and just think, okay, I'm just doing this for my son, but what about the nation? Like, you know, people have to sacrifice. People really need to make sacrifices, and we can't just be like, oh, me dream me baho. Because the person whose child ends up on the dialysis, what happened? That could be your child. So even Obama also would, you think you're protecting your child by doing nothing. You can't protect them. You can't protect them. There are people who were arrested. I told you, people were walking past us and they were arrested.
They were arrested.
And they had kids. So those are people who probably have sat in their house before and said, oh, maybe I don't get involved in those things. Or me banti. But that child you're trying to protect, they were still left without you for 14 days. I was in the cell for 17 days.
Let me talk about your parents. Since you've mentioned your dad and you know your parents.
Yeah.
How did they handle you? Did they bring you up like this, or what you're doing is alien to them?
My grandma, I was brought up by my grandma. She was very strong, fancy woman, very strong. You know, speaks her mind, and she always made me know that my voice mattered and I mattered.
Your grandma?
Yeah, my grandmother.
Who's your grandma?
Her name is Agnes Boating, but she's late now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she brought me up that way, to have a voice, and you know, she just made me know that I mattered.
Really?
Like what I said mattered.
What was she telling you?
When people would come over to my house, my grandma would spend about a good 30 minutes to an hour telling them how intelligent I am, how amazing I am. I'm not joking.
Wow.
Like for 30, imagine like just about every day of your life, someone's telling you you're amazing, you're important, you're intelligent, you're assertive, and praising those things in you. It makes you extremely confident. So that's what I think, if there's anyone who's made me the way I am, it's my grandma.
Wow.
For just making me feel important, knowing that I mattered, and just, and it's also seeing her, always support other people. So she might have not, let's say, gone out to protest, but I saw how if she saw like an unjust situation, if somebody was being kicked out of their home, how she'll quickly take them in.
Wow.
If a woman was being abused, how she'll quickly take them in. And within our house, my house was full of strangers. Our house was full of strangers. So it's nothing to me now to like be an activist, because for me, this is normal. This is my everyday. But my dad was completely so supportive. Like, I don't think I could have made it those 17 days without the support of my dad. He was there every day. He would come and see me. He made sure that I got everything I needed while I was in the cell. And just having that parent who's not being like, just being really supportive, like proud of me. Like, there's a picture, I don't know if you saw the picture of me where I was arrested. I was going to the court and I was smiling while in the handcuffs. And my dad was in the side of that picture smiling whilst also taking a picture of me. And he was so proud of me.
Wow.
And that just kept me going, just knowing that, having that family support was so instrumental in keeping out, want to say, like, to my little sister as well, she was amazing, running a million errands for me while I was in the cell. And everybody, like, people coming to visit me as well, like you came to visit me, thank you so much. Like, the public support has been so immense, and I'm so, so grateful. That also kept me going. And seeing the Galamsey conversation happen whilst I was in the cell, seeing that the media was doing a reportage, everybody was talking about Galamsey, that for me, I felt like my sacrifice was worth it. If I was in the cell and nobody was talking about it, everyone's forgotten about Galamsey, I was like, Mikrano, what am I doing here? Yeah. But because it became a topical issue. Everyone was talking about people, so many more people are educated on the Galamsey issue simply because we were arrested, right? So that for me, it made it worthwhile, because why did I go out to protest? I want to create awareness. I want action. And that's what it led to. I don't think the government is doing enough action. I think that if Bawumia really means well for this country in terms of the Galamsey fight, or his plans, he would actually put them into action. And the task force that they even set out, right now, the task force are not really doing anything. When's the last time you saw any reportage from the task force? So they just did that knee-jerk thing. So it's like, for me, but just knowing that people now are aware and keeping the end. Now I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to vote against this government because of their failure to actually tackle this Galamsey menace, which that's also important to me. They must be punished for their inaction. They must be punished for not doing enough. Coming in 2017, guns blazing, saying this is what we're going to be doing, and now water bodies are worse than they were in 2017. They've given more licenses in the last 8 years than we have done in the entire history of this country. They must be punished for that. We cannot offer them another term. When politicians do this much damage to our water bodies, to our forest reserves, we must punish them for their actions. And they must lose an election so they can sit back and think through their actions and do better next time.
Show some love, man. Wow. Now, like, the whole discussion on Galamsey seems to have lowered.
Yeah.
Does that worry you, or you think it's somewhere lacking and it's going to come back up again?
Of course it worries me, it's disturbing that we've kind of forgotten, but I don't think this is the end. This is not the end. For example, last week, Oliver was representing some environmental NGOs who want to have the LI, which allows them to mine in the forest reserves. They want to have that LI. They want an injunction placed on them. So the action is still going on.
Okay.
So a lot of the time, just because the conversation is not happening doesn't mean nothing is happening.
Yes.
So
it might not be reported or made any fuss of, but things are still happening.
Things are still happening, and but we need to do more. I think we need to ramp it up again, but we all need to ramp it up again. So people shouldn't just look to us who were arrested and say, okay, you guys need to be the ones to be, now we've handed over the baton. Like when we were in the cell, we saw that young people went out in their numbers and did a three-day protest. Amazing. This is the kind of momentum. The unions nearly went on a strike. They failed Ghana and failed Ghanaians, and they should be disappointed in themselves for not going along with the actual strike. But these are things that they can do. So they don't have to wait for another election, even if it's the day after the election. Because Galamsey is destroying our water bodies today. you know, right now, as I'm speaking, right now, the water body is being destroyed.
Yeah.
I went on a show and they had a specialist saying that some of our water bodies are going to take 300 years to be restored.
Yeah.
So we're already late. We're already 300 years
Yes,
late. So
yeah.
like the best time to tackle Galamsey was 300 years ago. So like it's urgent. It's absolutely urgent.
Wow. Let in our dying moments, not dying minutes.
Yeah.
No moment. You know, what message do you want to send out there? Not that you haven't done enough already, but specifically the youth that are listening to you. And I'm very, very interested in the youth because the Ghana belongs to you now, man. Ghana Mudia. You know, what specific things do you want to send out to them to inspire them to be on the alert and to care just as you do?
I think that more young people need to be engaged. So when I say engaged, I'm talking about when something is reported on, even in the media space, do your own research. You have access to the internet because it's so easy. So many young people see a headline and then go with it. So they say, oh, NDC, these people are NDC protesters, and you see a young
with the
person
headline.
parrot it. Have you done any research? Is the issue important? How is it going to affect you? How does it affect others? How do you use your own voice within your own space? Not everybody has to go out to protest. Even if you're sitting with your friends and educating them on it, your house, the people in your household, you can use your voice in so many different ways. There's so many social media platforms. You don't even need traditional media if they're not going to support you. So it's like stand up, be counted, your voice matters. Remember that Ghana, Eyodia. Ghana, Eyodia, Ghana, Eyomadia, Ghana, Eyonana Modia. And what Ghana would you want to leave for them? And if you want a better Ghana, you have to get involved today.
How best can we end this show? If you want a better Ghana, you have to get involved today. And on that note, let me say a big thank you to Felicity. Felicity, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for enlightening us.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that anybody who watches this program will be forced to think and go, wow, I really didn't understand some of the things. Yeah. Many people, they just like somebody coming, why are you now supporting anarchists? Really? People are protesting against Galamsey. I mean, support anarchy, you know. So I'm hoping that all of you who have that stand that it was anarchy, you are thinking now to realize that how wrong we were for not even jumping to support this. Felicity, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you.
You've been an activist for a long time. Thanks to your grandmother. Show some love for the grandmother, man. And the dad, the mom, the whole family. Show them some love. And really, what can I say? Well done.
Thank you.
And I know you have inspired many today. You've had her, I've had her, all of us have had her. We want to rescue this country. We cannot continue on this trajectory. I am sorry. So Felicity, thank you very, very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And for those of you out there watching, until I come back your way again next week with another exciting youth. KSM signing off, as I've always done since you were all babies. Most of you listening to me. How do I do it? We are out of. Let the whole world say,
The KSM Show.